Allow me to reintroduce myself.
You are now tuning in to the Snap Call Podcast.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of the Snap Call. I'm Xavier.
I'm Ice.
Hector.
And we are back for the second week here of WSOP and the second week of our season here. Lots happened in this past week. Found a couple champions in the WSOP.
Yeah, man.
Is that FOMO kicking in, Hector?
Oh, yeah. I wish every time we see it, wish it was there. Poker Go is really has bitten me, and I'm watching it almost every night.
Yeah, no, I got a couple things to nitpick about Poker Go in terms of overall coverage, but we'll save that for the podcast itself. Got a lot to cover today, so Hector, kick us off here.
All right. So we're gonna start with the 25K Heads Up Championship. All right. So we got Darius Samuels. He risked half his bankroll to get into this tournament. All right. So we checked his Hendon Mob. He had 93K in winnings before the tournament, and of course he took it down for $500,000. So my big question would be, would you guys take this shot? 50K in your pocket, 25K Heads Up Championship, the most volatile variant of Hold'em there is, and the whole summer ahead of you. Are you taking that chance?
I'll let you go first.
So it depends how I got the 50K. If the 50K, because a lot of these guys, they play a lot of online, especially a lot of guys from overseas and stuff like that. So it's like, if he specializes in a heads up, if you're going to take the chance, why not take the chance at the game you're best at? I personally won't do it just because you can get so much value in other tournaments. And heads up, like you said, is unpredictable. So it's you can have a monster that you can run into another monster and that's it, you're done. But no, I wouldn't do it personally, but it worked out for him.
Yeah, I would have to second that. It just makes me wonder exactly what you said. Where are you getting that money from that you're just like, F it, I'm going to go ahead and risk up to 50%? There's not many industries. It could be the stock market. I don't know if I can risk 50% in a big stock like that. Like that's pretty crazy. 25K, so half of his bankroll, and he had 93,000 on his Hendon Mob going into this, and now he's at 500K. That's just crazy to me. To me, I think it's more interesting the fact that he did a heads up tournament on top of that. So it's like he could have done like a smaller field for 25K, especially. He could have done, potentially some sort of high roller and not necessarily do heads up. But the guy's got balls. Not only did you risk 50% of your bankroll, but then you did it heads up, basically saying, I'm going to beat every single person straight up on his way to the end. I mean, I forget how many heads up games he won in a row, but I mean, that's just crazy to me. I cannot do that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the main thing is it's the beginning of the summer. Like, if I know I only have 50K and I'm trying, maybe, I don't know what his goals are, but if you're trying to do the main, right? That's 10K right there. You know what I mean? And you're risking this other 25 just at the beginning. Like, if you don't hit, you're basically strapping yourself to like dailies.
Yeah.
I have to do a little bit more investigation on that, because if it's like 50K what he brought to the WSOP, that's a little bit more understandable. But if it's like 50K total what he has like in his bank account and you risk 25K, that's a little bit out of hand.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if he brought 50K and said this is my WSOP bankroll, or if this is my overall bankroll, and I'm just gonna put it all on the line. But again, 50% on one event is wild. Is wild.
But hey, man, if you're not gonna believe in yourself, who is, right? And he took the shot and he got there. He got his bracelet. So good for him. But I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing that. But that's why I'm here. He's there.
Yeah, and I mean, and he faced a lot of really good people on the way to winning the championship, and he ended up beating Faraz Jaka, who is a great player, heads up. So I mean, he didn't have an easy road, no matter what. But yeah, one thing is, Ice, you had mentioned it before, the cap. Well, tell us about the cap.
Yeah, it was like, I think, a 64 player cap for the 25K heads up. I feel that's bullshit. Like, if you have 18,000 going into the mystery millions and you only cap it at 64 for the 25K, you can get dealers. Like, obviously you need an even number, players, but as soon as one signs up, you're like, hey, you're on the wait list, and somebody else signs up. I think this tournament could easily got 150 if they didn't cap it.
Yeah, it's a 1 day tournament, right?
No,
No?
it's multiple days. Yeah.
Yeah, multiple
Okay.
days, yeah. So, like, I was interested in that because I thought to myself, why did they cap it? So I thought it made, when I looked at the schedule, I said, okay, it's probably because of the Mystery Millions. They need as many tables as possible and dealers. But then I looked at the structure sheet that's provided before the WSOP even starts, and it listed 64 on there. So it wasn't like a last minute decision to say we're going to cap this at 64. So I'll be honest, I'm not familiar if in the past it's been capped at 64. I'd be interested to see what numbers this event was pulling before.
Yeah.
But 64 for a 25K, it's I mean, don't get me wrong, maybe they capped it because it's at 25K, but that just seems like such a low number. Like,
It's
that's
the
just
dealers.
crazy.
64 is, for example, and say you run half of it, half the people in day one of a field. So how much are you pulling? 20 something dealers for 40 guys, give or take. So it's like,
Yeah, probably from a
So,
profitability standpoint, it doesn't make it.
So what you want to see? 128?
So it's, yeah,
I don't want to see a cap on it.
Yeah.
there's no cap at
25K,
all.
like if you
Well, you got to have a certain number
Yeah.
so that it goes down to 2, right?
Yeah.
So it's got to be at 128 or double that.
Yeah.
Like, so it has to be a specific number, and maybe that's why.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably why, because let's say they got it to 100, you're not going to get down to 2 players from 100. You're going to
Yeah.
go from 100 to 50 to 25 to 12 and a half.
Yeah.
So it might have to do more with the fact that
Yeah.
they have to get down to 2. But you could have said, I mean, I don't know. I guess it is tough. It is
Yeah.
tough looking at it that
Well,
way.
I know from Daniel's blog, he was supposed to play in it, but because he went deep in the 500,
Yeah.
he couldn't play. So your boy Chance,
I saw he's the
yeah,
first alternate.
yeah, he was the first alternate, so he got to play. You know,
He was
so
happy
they
that Daniel was still in the tournament because
Yeah.
they want to face Daniel. Yeah.
so he definitely had more than 64. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's either 64 or 128, and maybe they know they don't get 128 runners. You know what I mean? So is some of these mixed games are 100 people, 89 people. So
yeah.
And what also disappointed me about this 25K heads up is you have guys like Doug Polk that didn't even show up to play this event. He's supposed to be like the heads up specialist. I feel like you need to prove like still I know you have your own poker room and stuff like that, but it'd be nice to have these big time names come out and play this 25K heads up.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about Doug Polk and how he ran deep last year, and how he didn't even show up here. So
And then him against Negreanu, everybody knows he was a better heads up player than Negreanu. So it's like, this is your event. If you're gonna play the WSOP, play this event. Besides the main.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say that's kind of one of the things about like the good and the bad thing about poker's growth right now, right? Is like the WSOP is where it's at, but unlike a decade ago where everyone would drop what they're doing to be there, they have so many other vested interests, right? Like the Doug Polks, instead of doing all these WSOP events,
He's doing the $1 million game.
He's doing the big cash games and focusing on his rooms in Texas. So you're not seeing these people drop everything to be in Vegas during the WSOP anymore because there's poker everywhere now. So like that's a big plus for the game of poker. I think not having these big names in these tournaments does hurt it a little bit because yes, you got a Darius Samuels and he has obviously a great story with risking half his bankroll, but does it hurt poker that no one knows who he is either, right? So
It does. We're losing a lot to the Europeans and a lot of people from overseas as well. They bringing in the bigger fields. They taking down a decent amount of tournaments as well too. Like a big time, I won't say celebrity poker players, but like big name poker players are not playing in the WSOP.
yeah, 100%, 100%. So going into or just kind of wrapping that point up, we mentioned who he lost to, right? So, who he beat, right? So Darius Samuels ended up beating Faraz Jaka. Just wanted to make a quick shout out to Faraz Jaka because, super cool, like poker personality, interacts with everyone on Twitter, has the Jaka coaching. So shout out to Jaka coaching, the coaching that he provides there. Jaka is just obviously a great player overall in a heads up format. But one thing that I wanted to call out was he won the shootout last year. So he's definitely a short-handed specialist. Like he is, you have the players that can play the big fields and kind of navigate through them. And then you have the players that can truly, really accumulate every chip when it comes down to 9, 8, 7 people. And that's something that Jaka does.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested to see how in depth and what that training looks like for shorthanded tables through his coaching, because like for our games, our house games, we play essentially a sit and go, right? It would be really cool to kind of get some of those strategies that he's putting out there.
Yeah. Gotcha. So moving over to specialties, we got John Hennigan.
Jack.
He wins his 7th bracelet in event 7, so the 1500 dealer's choice. So all-time bracelet winners, there's 13 players that have 6. He was one of those. Now he has 7 moving up. There's only 9 players that have seven bracelets, and he is one of them. So I know you had pointed out that Norman Chad had put out a post that he's won 7 bracelets in 7 different formats of poker. So dealer's choice, stud 8, deuce 7 triple draw, horse. I mean, that is a very impressive feat, and I haven't looked into it, but I wonder how many people have done that.
Yeah. No, that's
I can't say. I mean, it's got to be one of the 9, right? Because you got to have at least 6. Probably Ivy, because I know most of his stuff.
I mean, help me from the deuce 7.
No, Helmuth is like
most of his are no limit.
I want to say like 12 of them are no limit.
Yeah, he's got a lot of no limit. I mean, just like just
Jason Mercier too. Jason Mercier won some mixed games as well too.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be interested to see discipline-wise, right? I mean, and just shout out to Norman Chad to even throw that statistic out there. 7 different disciplines, 7 different bracelets, and he won it in event number 7. I mean, Johnny World, as they call him, John Hennigan. I mean, shout out to him because that's pretty cool. I mean, we've talked about how we would love if the poker rooms by us offered more mixed games from a cash games, perspective. Because I would love to throw my name in some Badoogie and just freaking lose 50, $60 real quick just so I can get my feet wet. Yeah. We don't see really stud being played here that often. Obviously, we don't see deuces 7 triple draw. So it's just really cool to see like a lot of these old school players being so good at those games because it's hard for a new player to break ground into that. And obviously, we're not new. We've been playing for almost 20 years, but someone comes up and they can say deuce to 7 triple draw. Like, what is that? They didn't even know about that game.
Yeah. So we're like, let's play. Oh, I won a bracelet.
Yeah.
When I used to
be like Kevin from The Office.
Right.
When I used to deal at the Hard Rock in Hollywood, they offered a horse and a stud game. And those same guys would change it. Hey, let's play stud or let's play horse. And sometimes they go to the Big O as well, too. It's a 5-card PLO. But the other games, they don't offer it. And you get the same, maybe like 12, 13 guys that play, older guys, probably like in their 60s, like the Judges game in Rounders. But a lot of these young guys don't play these mixed games. Everything's no limit or PLO. So it's a lot of people don't play because they don't offer it. So hopefully in the future, like you said, hopefully these poker rooms will offer it. But it has to be an interest list too because they have to make money.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, no. Overall, though, I mean, shout out to John Hennigan.
Yeah,
Probably should have been a bigger player to get drafted at a WSOP just due to the mixed games and the fact that he plays a lot of tournaments with smaller fields. So he probably should have been drafted. But he's probably going to prove a lot of people wrong this summer.
I heard about the WSOP, the dealers they had for that tournament that he won, the dealer's choice, right? Did he win the dealer's choice? It was taking like 10 minutes a hand. Like they were so slow dealing because they didn't really know how to deal the games. Especially if you play stud, high, low, you have to do a split pot. So you got the high and the low. So it's like, there was a guy, I think it was Alice Kessler, somebody online was complaining about it.
Oh, Alan Kessler?
Yeah. So
What's bothering you today?
Exactly. But they have to do a better job of getting like dealers that know how to deal those games. Because if you're playing 3 hands every time the blinds go up, that's tough. That's a tough way,
Yeah. That is tough. And speaking of tough and getting frustrated, what about Negreanu's blow up
that was fun.
On that fan. So for those of you that don't know, Negreanu essentially lost a tournament, in my opinion, in a hand. He was basically 1-2 in chips with another player at his table. He ended up losing a flip, ace king versus pocket tens, and as we know, Negreanu, he's not there to collect Poker of the Year player points or Player of the Year player points. He is looking to collect the bracelet. So he risked it all and ended up losing. And immediately after, probably shouldn't have had the camera out just because he knows he's fuming. But immediately after, he has a player coming up to him, some fan asking him to take his picture. I mean, when you saw it, what was your initial thoughts?
So you have to. So if I'm Negreanu personally, you have to do a better job controlling your emotions just because you're a public figure. But you have to put yourself in his shoes too. This was the tournament where he had a decent amount of chips. He was a chip leader or close to it, and then he busted. So right there, he's on tilt. And then somebody going up to you, taking a picture, and you're already pissed off, he has to take it on somebody. He's not going to take it on the dealer. He's not going to take it on the player that beat him. So he's pissed. So I understand where he's coming from. And if you're the guy, too, like, you know he busted, just leave him alone. Give him like a minute or 2 or 5 minutes. Just let him cool down. Because we all been there. We all lose. We all bust from the table. We're pissed off. Like, that's probably the angriest we're at the moment while we're playing is when we bust. So it's...
Yeah, it's... Obviously, you could have handled his emotions differently. I just watching it, I don't even think I was more so. I don't think I was even that surprised with Negreanu's reaction because it's Daniel Negreanu. Yeah. You should get that reaction. You should expect to get that reaction from him after he busts a tournament, and you know that player saw him bust and walk away because everyone in that room knew Negreanu was in a final 16 of a tournament, so everyone's watching. So that player knew he busted and chose a really, really bad time. And the two things that stuck out to me that were probably more annoying than anything was. That guy that went up to him, his friend was laughing like a jackass the whole time. That, to me, the fact that Daniel didn't go over there and cuss him out, like that took more control to me than telling the first guy off. Yeah. But the second thing was, like, if you're this guy and even after going up to Daniel and you see he's pissed and you're still waiting to get a photo, like, you got some balls on you, man. Like, I get that Daniel's going to do it anyway, but after Daniel says, you're going to come up to me right now, like, just say, I'll come back. Like, was that hard to just say I'll come back? Like, I don't know. That dude's just in it. He had to be drunk.
I mean, I don't know if it's just me or not, but like I don't take Negreanu serious when he's blowing up. You know, like it's just funny to me. Like he's just I don't know, like small guy. You know, like it's more comical to me than it is like that he's actually mad. You know, so that I probably wouldn't be a good person to call him down because I just think he's joking the whole time. So even when he was yelling at the guy, I felt like he was joking with him. You know what I mean? And I felt like that's how the guy took it too. Like yeah, you're right. I'm a piece of, but it just didn't feel like a actual like berating to me. You know, it didn't feel like I was, like I think he is legitimate that he could have gone that way, or maybe it's just, his mannerisms that I just don't take that serious. But he was fine. There was nothing wrong with it.
Let me say something. You're a grown man, especially that guy that he looks like he's older than Negreanu.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you're a grown man. You don't feel like they owe you a picture. Like you're not a kid. Like. Mm-hmm. That if you go up to an athlete, you want a picture, the athlete's a dickhead, then you say, hey, it's a kid. But you're a grown man, don't feel like you're obligated to get a picture.
Yeah. And
also, like, you have to have some respect, too. Like, if Negreanu's, like, cursing you out, you can be like, yeah, forget this guy. It's just like, come on.
Exactly. Like, you're not going up to him in the bathroom. Like, pick your spot.
Yeah. That was my thing was, I thought it was almost more disrespectful that he stuck around, got berated, and then you still expect, like, he expected a photo.
Yeah.
Because even after Negreanu's like, really, right now? And he kept going. He's like, yeah, sorry, yeah. Like, walk away. Come back to him when he's not upset. Like, the fact that he allowed himself to get berated, still got the picture. Mm-hmm. Your jackass friend is laughing the whole time. Like, come on, man, just walk away.
This is what makes poker so awesome is that you can play with a guy like Negreanu. So, like, you enter the tournament, he's your competition. So it's just like you have to act like these guys are like pretty much your co-workers. Kind of like if you're in the NBA, right, and you're playing on the same team, you don't go up to another person on another team and asking for autographs. It's just the respect they have, So just like same thing as poker. Like, listen, like it's your competition. You're a grown man. He doesn't owe you an autograph.
Yeah. I actually don't think most people are asking for a picture when they're playing.
Well,
You know what I mean?
And the thing is, he has said multiple times over the years, like, the best time to ask, and although I think it is kind of a weird, even more weird scenario, but he says is in between hands that he's not in. Like, he says, I don't mind getting up, taking a photo, and coming back. To me, if you're sitting at the table, I'm not going to ask you. That's me.
Yeah, you're working.
I'd rather ask you when you're in the hallways, but definitely not after you busted. Like,
But you think about it, like dinner break, bathroom break, like that's limited time. I don't want to spend it taking pictures with random people. Like I gotta go eat something.
yeah. No,
I gotta take a nap. I gotta go take a leak.
he's 100% justified in telling the guy no. He's 100% justified
Makes sense that they have like their own private even exit to get to his trailer.
Yeah.
At the Rio.
I know 100% he misses his setup at the Rio where he could just walk through the back hallways, avoid everyone, and go straight to his trailer that gets set up by his assistant, and he don't got to talk to anyone. Like, that had to be amazing, and I'm sure it sucks for him because, while, yes, you should expect fans to come up to you, you don't owe nobody anything. So he's 100% justified no matter what.
Agreed.
But speaking of Negreanu, I think you had a question that you wanted kind of to ask.
Oh, so Negreanu. So remember that 6 bracelet thing that I was talking about? 13 players with 6 bracelets. Negreanu's one of them. Now a lot of those people with 6 bracelets, they've come up pretty quick. So you have Sean Deeb. You have Mercier, a lot of people that had multiple bracelets just last year to get to 6. Negreanu has been stuck at 6 for the past decade, 10 years. Why do we think that is? We know he's one of the best, right? Especially at tournament format and mixed games. So what's getting him? What's not getting him out of that 7th bracelet that he wants? And he plays, 50 of the 100, 70 of the 100. He plays almost every tournament he can get his hands on.
I think it's a multitude of things. I would probably say that the skill level in general is much better, right? Mm-hmm. While we've said before that it's a little bit harder for younger players to get into the mixed games, a lot more people are playing the mixed games that much more. So typically the mixed games have smaller fields. He should have a better edge. I do think the overall field itself does have much better skill level than they did a decade ago. Mm-hmm. So that's a big one. And number 1, 2, I think there's just the game of poker is bigger than it was 10 years ago as well, right? Like the game has grown a lot. Last year it was breaking records in the main event, and the game is so much more widely available, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're talking the club GGs, while online poker isn't readily available to everyone. The game of poker you can play on your phone, and people are playing it a lot more than they were 10 years ago. You got the PPP pokers, the poker bros. It's just so much more available to people, which is a great thing for poker. But yeah, you throw your name in the hat, it's gonna be that much harder to get a bracelet. So I think it's a mixture of difficulty from winning a tournament in general due to skill level, but also just the tournaments are bigger in general.
So just he's running bad in WSOP. I mean, he's gotten Player of the Year twice.
Yeah, I mean,
so he's not running bad. He's
had his opportunities.
It's just closing.
Yeah, I mean, that one tournament, that one WSP event. I don't know, probably 7 years ago now. I don't remember. He finished second. He looked like he had it locked up, and the variance kind of kicked in. I mean, he's winning tournaments. He won tournaments before the WSOP. He was hot coming in. So I believe that he's a player that can win at least one. This summer, but it's poker. You're talking about navigating through fields of thousands of people.
Yeah. So my take on that is it's so hard to win a bracelet. Negreanu has 6, so they assume it's easy for him to win. Mm-hmm. They just don't know how hard it is to win a bracelet event. Like, it's so hard. And to be honest, sometimes he hasn't been playing good. So obviously the variance kicks in and stuff like that, but it's just a super hard event to win, the bracelet event, WSOP. The best players from all around the world come and compete. And Negreanu is one of the best, but at the same time, in some tournaments, he is outplayed. But he still wins other tournaments besides WSOP. He came in hot. And it's just people, like kind of like say, oh, he only won 6 in the last 10 years. He hasn't won anything, but it's so hard to win it. So
Yeah.
just by him winning those 6, that's a crazy run. So
Yeah, I mean, let's not get it twisted. We know Negreanu's stats. You know, like he's player of the year twice. He all-time money list at one point. You know, like he's done things in the past 10 years. You know, he's still regarded as one of the best to play, and he's one of the biggest poker ambassadors that there is. It's just, it's weird that he can find it in other tournaments, and he can get those first place in the big money tournaments, but just escape them for the WSOP, where you have, I don't know, say Helmuth, that's just Mr. Consistent, plugging away. Like, what is it that he's doing in the World Series that maybe Daniel's not doing?
Phil Hellmuth can dodge bullets.
Yeah.
I think Negreanu can.
Negreanu can't dodge those bullets, right? He's like, GTO says do this, that's what I'm doing.
I mean, if you look at Negreanu versus Phil's,
And then Mob or
no. If you look at their skill level, right? Obviously, both very good players. If you look at their strategies, and we look at specifically the hand we talked about earlier with the Ace King versus the tens, right? Like, we talked about how, like, you got to accumulate every chip in that room, right? You have the largest stack in that room, 16 people left. He took a shot, it just didn't work out, and he's not there to win points or the money, really. He wants the bracelet. It does make me think that, like, Phil, a little bit more consistent over the years, obviously has the most bracelets. Could Phil find a fold in that spot? And I think the answer is yes. We've seen him fold kings in spots before. So, an argument could be made that, Phil could have found a fold there. So maybe Negreanu can find folds there that he typically isn't. Now, we know Negreanu was hot coming into the WSOP, and we know that he was hot running this entire tournament, but it does make you think, like, you don't want to be results oriented, right? Like, it's a hand that he's going to call 10 times out of 10, but could he have found it a fold? Could he find a fold?
Yeah.
But it does make you think. I will say this, like you mentioned, like he's winning other tournaments, right? Mm-hmm. You talk about the Jason Merciers, right, who was like on a Sun run at one point and was winning. It seemed like almost every other event. Phil Ivey was on a Sun run at one point. Negreanu won a lot of tournaments within a short amount of time. You look at Ali, right? Even though it wasn't specifically just WSOP, that kid had one of the craziest 2-year periods ever.
Yeah, Bonomo.
And Bonomo, right? Granted, Ali's has a big old, a lot of shady stuff, especially from the ice and the online stuff. Fedor, Sun Run, right? So it's like, it makes you wonder, right? Not saying these people have kind of faded out, but like, Mercier isn't really playing poker like that these days. Fedor really shows up for just the really, really big events. Ivy showed up, but we don't know if he's going to be consistently playing tournaments like that.
Cashed.
And he cashed, yeah. So
We'll
it was
take
PLO, right? The PLO
Yeah.
tournament?
Yeah.
So it just makes you think, like, is there a little bit of, like, fatigue as well, right? Because Helmuth does WSOP events. Negreanu's playing poker
All
365,
year.
right?
Yeah.
So maybe there's a little bit of fatigue that kind of kicks in at some point. I don't know. Obviously, Negreanu still converts that into success, but
Yeah.
you never know.
We're still rooting for you, man. Two by the end.
Two bracelets.
Two by the end of the summer.
2 bracelets.
We got you, Negreanu. We're watching.
So there is
Rooting for you.
there is a little bit of controversy going on right now in WSOP. I'll let Ice kind of jump into it, and this revolves around phones, right? And a big thing with phones. So Ice, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so there's a big debate now about looking at GTO charts during hands on breaks and stuff like that. Do you think it should be banned, phones on the table?
So yeah, let's have an open discussion about this, right? So do we think they should ban phones at tables? Period.
No.
No, right? I think
No.
we're in agreement that should be no.
Yeah.
Do we think that it's okay to look at a chart on a break, or look at a chart in between hands? What do you guys think?
I don't think you should be on your phone if you're in a hand at all.
Agreed.
So they need to have better like floor management as far as like they catch somebody on the chart. It should be a permanent ban. Like they catch you cheating, because that's technically cheating. You're using an edge over the player. And then once you're in the hand, you shouldn't be touching your phone. Your phone should be down, and the dealer need to take control. Like, hey, you're on your phone. Give him a warning, and then if he's on his phone again, just fold his hand, automatically muck his hand. And the reason being, it slows down the game, because a lot of times there's a person's turn to act, and he's on his phone, he's not paying attention. And then also, like, there's videos of guys looking at their phones. You can see the GTO wizard, like, literally on the phone, and nothing gets done. So until they can control it, if one person does it, doesn't get bad, then everybody should do it. It's either allow it for everybody or don't allow it at all. And like when I mean at all, like permanent bans.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't blackjack. I mean, everybody's had that little card when you're first starting out that, hey, I fold here. This is where it doesn't even matter how much you bet. It doesn't change the odds or anything. This is poker. This is a competition for houses, essentially. And you are putting in a very specific spot of how many chips, how many players, your cards, and it's too much. It's too much. It's too much of an edge, and it should not be allowed.
Yeah. No, it's I agree with both of you. It's blatant cheating. Like, it's literally blatant cheating. The way I think you can get around it is kind of what Ice was saying. I was thinking about this earlier. It's the dealer needs to put their foot down. They need to say,
Yep.
Put your phone away. And the moment they don't put their phone away, I believe the dealer, in those situations only, should be allowed to call clock on that player.
Yeah.
And they should
Or
be able to
fold
say,
their hand.
clock, you got 5 seconds to act, 10 seconds, whatever it's agreed to. Because we know what happens. You call floor, they're going to put their phone away before floor comes.
Yeah.
You can't really call floor. The dealer, they need to empower the dealers to say, hey, are you going to go ahead and put your phone down? No, clock. You now have 10 seconds to fold, call, or we're folding your hand for you, and you got to put your phone away. And I think and of course, like, yeah, they could be texting someone, they could be looking at charts. You don't really know exactly what they're doing, but it shouldn't be left for interpretation. You're not in a hand and on the phone at the same time. Your phone should be face down. I think that's a non-negotiable.
Yep.
Now, in between hands, shouldn't happen, in my opinion, regardless, even if you're not in the hand, and definitely not when you're not in hand. What about on a break? You know, what are your thoughts about looking at some charts on a break? You're not in a hand, you're away from the table. What are your thoughts then?
Yeah, that's fine. It's study material. So it's just like when you're not playing blackjack and you want to get up from the table, you're not in the hand. You can look at what hands you need to double down or stuff like that. It's just starting. That's fine.
Yeah.
Because you don't know there's a flop. You don't know what situation you're at too. It's just starting material. So
Yeah, it's the new age. Hey, let me talk to my friends. Or like, what about this hand? Hey, what do you think I did? Yeah. It's the exact same thing. It's just, you don't have friends, so you look at your phone.
Yeah, no, I think in between breaks, it's fine. I mean, we were running numbers and the last tournament in regards to like, hey, like percentage wise, like, did I make the right call? Did I not? Wasn't pulling up charts, but it was just kind of like, how far was I behind or ahead? Did I make the right call? Yada, yada. So that makes sense. And I mean, when you think about it, when these guys go to the final table and they're on the delay, they got people on the rail giving them not necessarily real-time information, but they're giving them information from the stream right there and then. So that's okay. It's on a 30-minute delay. It's not live. But yeah, and the reason why I asked about the break specifically is because people were even talking about on Twitter, if you see someone looking at charts on a break, should they be held accountable? And it's just kind of like, what do you want them to do? Like, they're just reviewing some hands. They're not physically in a hand, and they're not at the table.
Yeah,
so
that's fine.
Let it go. Like.
So we're on day 2 of the Mystery Millions. It drew 18,409 entries. Yes. Is this event pretty much like the second best event in the WSOP right now?
It's up there.
It definitely creates, like enthusiasm. Like people want to draw that card. Except for
Is this the new Colossus tournament now? Remember how the Colossus used to draw so much?
Yeah.
No, I think the allure of pulling $1 million envelope is obviously what's drawing all these people. We talked about it in the summer, right, or in the fall. Fall, summer. No, we talked about it in the spring about how this was going to be a big draw, one of the most anticipated tournaments. Bounties are huge right now. We're going to see 18,000 broke this summer because remember, there's like a July 4th, Independence Day one, and there's a couple. So we're gonna see maybe 2 other tournaments break that. But in terms of popularity, I think you might be right. Main event's always gonna be number one. Think about it, 18,000 entries, $1,000 buy-ins.
Yeah.
Like it's not a small buy-in for the average person.
Yeah.
That's just that's crazy. I would say it's probably the number 2 most popular tournament this
I
year.
would say 80% of that 18,000 don't care about like the bracelet. It's about pulling that million.
Yeah. There's nothing cooler than walking up in front of the entire room and
Yeah.
pulling something.
Yeah.
It might be just
It's a
$1,000
it's a
bounty.
scratch off.
Yeah, it might just be $1,000 bounty, which is okay. But just the idea that you can pull 25K, 100K, like it's a lotto ticket. Like, why would you not want to do that?
And you know the crazy thing is with this much entries in the tournament, a lot of times with these bounty tournaments, a lot of it is front loaded. As far as like first place will get a lot, second place will get a decent amount, and then third and ninth will get shit to make the final table. With 18 million, they drawing $2 million bounties plus first place gets $1 million. Second place I think is like 600, and you got 400,000 or something like that. Like even ninth place is like 90K or 80K. So it's just like it's a decent payout if you make the final table compared to a lot of other tournaments.
Who else but the WSOP, man?
Yeah,
The only ones that can do it.
No one's pulling out those types of numbers for a tournament, man. It's crazy. 18,000. Like that's just nuts. Good for them.
Talking about drawing a bounty, we had Valentine, not even going to say his last name, had no reaction to pulling $1 million bounty. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Oh,
I wanted to toss my phone across the room.
Look up his Hendon mob. Like,
Yeah,
how much do you have that you don't care?
If I won 25K, I would have been like, let's fucking go. I would have been hype.
Yeah.
It's funny. Before you guys came over, I saw a Twitter post of when a guy pulled a milli versus him pulling a milli,
Yeah.
and one guy's like this, and he's like,
Yeah.
like I immediately filled with anger, right? Because
Yeah.
we have so much FOMO right now, not being
Yeah.
in Vegas, not playing in these tournaments, just playing poker in general, right? And then you got a guy pulling $1 million envelope in front of thousands of people, and that's his
Yeah.
reaction.
Yeah.
I was angry.
Yeah, I was like, take that money away. You don't deserve it, bro.
It looks like a roll.
Life changing money.
Yeah, but good for him. Congrats.
I hope he
I don't know,
busts.
smile.
Bust day 2.
Yeah.
Guy's gonna play every event for the rest of the summer and won't even have a smile on his face.
Oh my God. What makes you happy, bro? If it ain't
And you know what's
poker.
funny is like the WSOP, right? Like, his reaction, everything. They're probably cringing in the back of their heads,
Yeah.
like,
They're
God,
like,
this is not a good look for us.
This is-
We have $1 million bounty pulled, and we got this jerk
Yeah.
not smiling.
This
Not
is the
even-
whole point.
The whole
That's-
point was
Yeah, that's the whole point. Is that reaction when the person pulls the million?
The other million may not even show up until the last day of the tournament.
Yeah.
This one shows up at the start of day 2, and
Gave him nothing.
What? I don't know.
Gave him nothing.
I was angry.
You gotta talk to this PR person.
Yeah, I don't know. Speaking of 18,000 entries, though, one name that is still in the running right now for the mystery millions, Adrian Puccio. So that name may sound familiar because he is a big field specialist. He won the Big 50 back in 2019. That one had over 28,000 entries, and he's run deep in other tournaments as well, but specifically big tournaments. So, speaking of how to run well in these big tournaments, I mean, if you can give 1 or 2 tips as to what you can do to make sure that, not necessarily winning the whole thing, right? Because it's really a lottery ticket at that point. But to guarantee yourself at least getting into the money, how can you navigate through big fielded tournaments?
That's tough. These big fields, a lot of it's a crapshoot. You got to win your flips. Win your flips and get it in good. And that's it. It's not really... it's not too much science to it. It's just with these big fields, you can be at a table, you can be dominating, and then you run into a Negreanu hand. You don't have a choice. So it's just you just got to win your flips. And sometimes once you get deeper into these fields, once day 2 settles and you have everybody that's on the short stack done pushing, then it becomes more of you start dominating with your chip stack and you start navigating the field. But it's tough. I personally don't have experience running deep in big fields, so it's hard for me to give, any type of opinion on it when it's basically a crapshoot for these tournaments.
Yeah. You got. I mean, yeah, you have to win your flips. I think you got to win hands. You're not supposed to win, and you got to make sure you don't lose those hands as well. So like, there's definitely a lot of luck involved. You got to try to avoid variance as much as you can. So maybe you don't take some 50-50 shots unless you're just low on blinds. If you could stay ahead of the blinds to avoid that variance of needing to, push shove, I think that's probably your best bet. Eventually, it will catch up to you because big fields usually include faster blinds, so it's gonna catch up to you eventually. But that's that's been my stake. Is just try to stay ahead of the blinds.
Yeah, yeah. I wrote down a couple big field event strategies. The first one to outlast the big field is you got to be aggressive, right? Like you're playing these large fields with 10, 20, 30,000 entries. Normally they're lower stakes, smaller buy-ins. So right off the bat, you're going to have players that you're going to be better than, right? Especially with the lower buy-in. So you need to take advantage of the fact that they're going to be of lesser quality when it comes to overall gameplay, right? The second is also the fact that like these tournaments tend to be turbo structure. So you need to accumulate chips and you need to accumulate chips fast. So you got to take some more shots. ABC poker isn't going to always get it done all the time, especially against a lesser quality opponent. You need to be ready to go. And I'd say the last thing is, I wouldn't say it's a hot take, but it is something you need to keep in the back of your pocket. A lot of times these guys that win these tournaments, it's not on their first buy-in. It's their second, third, fourth. So you need to have in the back of your head, like, I may need to rebuy, right? So have a couple bullets ready to go and play each of those bullets like it's your last. But again, need to be aggressive from the moment they say, shuffle up and deal, because the idea is to accumulate every single chip, and you're not going to do that unless you're playing aggressive. So.
I have a tip here too that I just remembered. So like Jonathan Little, he has his own coaching stuff. He's one of the best players in the game now. On these big fields, you register on time and you play as much hands as you can early. You want to get up. You want to have a big chip stack early. You don't want to wait too long to make a move because of the blinds. So he recommends a lot, like registering on time and playing a lot of hands early, as far as like when the blinds are low. Because if you build a big bankroll, a big stack early, you can have that variance of winning flips or losing flips, But if you late reg in these big fields, it's kind of hard because you could be a flip and you can be eliminated. So,
yeah, 100%. So one of the coolest pictures I think I saw over the course of the WSOP so far, and we're not even a full week in, is Tiger Woods and Phil Ivey, which is funny because Phil Ivey is the Tiger Woods of poker. It was kind of like that whiz kid, and then is really the GOAT in a lot of people's opinions. But how awesome is that?
For poker? That was cool. I mean, it was a charity. It was a charity event. Yeah. So I mean, anytime seeing Phil Ivey is just always like, oh, what's gonna happen? Like he's gonna do something sick. And yeah, sure enough, just having that with Tiger Woods is just a fun op. Seeing Tiger Woods outside of the golf as well is just a rare sighting. So it's nice to see.
You can't turn down a drink. He was sauced in that one video.
Yeah, this is amazing for poker just because 98% of people that play poker know Phil Ivey. So now people that play golf and they see Tiger Woods playing poker, they're just like, oh my God, poker. It's okay to play because poker has that gambling stigma. Like, hey, it's still considered gambling. So you see a celebrity like Tiger Woods, because he's not just an athlete. He's one of the biggest celebrities in the world. Playing poker, it brings nothing but, more fans to the game. And then you see Ivy, which, like you said, is considered Tiger Woods, and they kind of look the same too. Like they kind of look like they could be brothers. Yeah. It's like you have the GOAT in golf, and then a lot of people's GOAT in poker.
One,
so that's
one
awesome.
hits the weights, one sits down all day.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Definitely a cool look for poker. We always talk about the growth of poker is important and how cool that is. And yeah, I think a lot of people that play golf typically play poker as well, and then they kind of see that that crossover. So that's definitely cool.
And a lot of athletes play poker. The problem is they are on the telescope, so they just can't go out and play in public and stuff like that. They got a brand, so with a lot of these companies and a lot of these teams and ESPN and stuff like that coming out with their betting apps and stuff like that, you're gonna see a lot more celebrities openly playing the game. Like you have your poor George, I think. What's he doing? BetMGM or something like that.
Global poker.
Global poker. You have Jimmy Butler's gonna play in the celebrity game, and these are active superstar players in the game right now. So it's good.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, kind of speaking about goats, right? Let's talk about the next here.
Okay. So you said you wanted to go first.
Well, you gotta tell them what we're gonna talk about.
So basically, we're gonna say who's in our Mount Rushmore of poker. So Xavier, go ahead. Who's your 4?
All right. So I had to go first because Hector's gonna steal half my answers. Yep. So we're talking Mount Rushmore of poker. We're not just talking who we think are the 4 best poker players of all time. Like I have them in a couple different tiers, right? Yep. So let's. I want to break down kind of those tiers. In my opinion, the greatest player, players that have introduced the game to other people, whether it was based on some sort of effect that I'll get into, or someone that's just old school. When you think poker, you think this person, right? So if we're talking to Mount Rushmore poker, the 4 players that I have, number 1, I got Texas Dolly. I got Doyle Brunson on my Mount Rushmore poker. Old school poker player. When you see a poker player from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and you think old school Vegas, Doyle Brunson has to be on that list. Number 1 for me.
Even after he tried to run you over with a scooter?
Yeah, he tried to run me over with a scooter in Bellagio. I ain't gonna forget about that. But it's all good. Doyle Brunson's on the Mount Rushmore. Number 2, it'd be silly not to have Chris Moneymaker on the list, right? The effect, the Moneymaker effect is what caused the poker boom. And poker would not be where it's at today if it wasn't for him. The man's name is Moneymaker. Like, for that alone, he could be on the Mount Rushmore, but he really helped transcend the game of poker and bring it to where it is today. Obviously, I got to have Daniel Negreanu on there. In my opinion, he's probably the best well-rounded player on this planet. But I have him on there for a couple other reasons. I have him on there because, obviously, he's good for the game. He helps grow the game of poker. He's obviously a fantastic player, one of the best in the world, but also the longevity, right? Like, we've been seeing Negreanu play for 20 years now, and he's probably played for another 20 years before that. So for our generation, he's done a lot, and he's doing a lot for the generation that's coming into poker right now. The 4th, I've kind of wrestled a little bit. I've got Ivy, I've got Johnny Chan, I've got a couple different guys, but I have to have Phil Hellmuth on there. I can't not have Phil Hellmuth on the Mount Rushmore. When you think of WSOP, you think of poker, you think of a poker personality being this big personality. I gotta have Hellmuth. There's people out there that don't watch poker like us that can say, in quote, "I dodge bullets, baby. You can't spell poker." Like, these are iconic sayings that he spewed out there out of anger. But he's always been good for the game. He's a big personality. So yeah, I'd be silly not to include him on there. So that's my Mount Rushmore. Whoever wants to go next.
So who was your 4? Doyle,
Negreanu, Moneymaker, and Hellmuth. And I know a lot of people will say, like, oh, there's no Stu Ungar, there's, all these other old school players. They're fantastic, right? Like, and they did a lot for the game a long time ago, but they'd be pretty hard pressed to drop into a game right now with as much study material as it is out there. So that's who I got.
Go, Hector.
You want me to go?
Good luck clipping that, Hector.
All right, no problem. So it was almost dead on.
I know.
Almost dead on. All right.
The Hellmuth one is the only one you don't got.
Yeah. So no. We disagree on one person.
All right, go for it.
All right. So Texas Dolly, I had Doyle Brunson right there. He represents the founding of Texas Hold'em. I think he epitomizes it with the hat always strapped, played until the last year or two where he just couldn't anymore, and he retired, but he pretty much played until his last day. Just embodied the beginning of poker. I think he embodies all of that, of all the other people that would be in that era. So Stu Unger, Amaretto Slim, like all just the beginning, Binion's poker and all that stuff. Next, I would go into tournament play, and for tournament play, I would go for Phil Hellmuth. if we're going into Tiger Woods 82 major wins, you got to put Phil Hellmuth 17 bracelets where nobody's even close to him. So that puts him up there. For the other side I put was for online. Right now, online, I wanted to go with like a Tom Dwan or Phil Gonfalon, someone who came from online obscurity and just made it to the top, top of the world. But I think none of that. Again, not necessarily that he made it, but Moneymaker is the reason that poker online just blew up. That you can go from your satellite to to these millions, and I think they were just a child of that. So I want Moneymaker to kind of represent all of those people. And the one person that we disagree with was Negreanu. I have Negreanu as a fifth guy, honorable mention sitting in the back, but I put Ivy. I put Ivy ahead of him. More bracelets, more mixed games in a shorter period of time. He is widely regarded across the world. Anyone says, hey, who's the best? They say Phil Ivey. That just plain said. Even you ask Negreanu himself, he's going to say Phil Ivey. So those are my four.
We're gonna debate.
Doyle.
We're gonna have time for debates.
We got Doyle.
Hellmuth, Ivy, and Moneymaker.
All right. So I'm a little bit different from you guys.
Oh, Rampage.
Rampage.
So my top four. The first one I'm gonna go with, for me, who I think is the best player for the longevity.
Wait, say it.
What do you mean?
My Mount Rushmore. You gotta say it.
I'm gonna say.
You gotta say it officially. This is my Mount Rushmore of poker.
So my Mount Rushmore poker is gonna be number one. I think he's the best player, longevity in tournaments, cash game. He's the most, for me, like the most rounded, and that's Phil Ivey. I just like his style. He's quiet, but he's an assassin everywhere he plays. Cash games, tournaments, and we're talking about from low stakes tournaments to high stakes tournaments. He's winning. When he was younger, he was grinding those WSOP fields. Plus, he has a bunch of bracelets as well too. And then he's always in my cal playing these high stakes cash games. Bobby's room playing. He's everywhere playing still. So that's number one. Number two, I'm going to go with, for me, the biggest poker personality, and that's Daniel Negreanu.
That's right. Respect.
Not just, like, because I'm going to be honest with you, I was a big fan of Negreanu. Like, kid poker and stuff like that, like, watching high stakes and stuff like that. Like, his story's pretty cool. Yeah, there's stuff he said that, with the more rake better and stuff like that kind of, like, shifting towards, like, did he sell out, did he not sell out? But he has bracelets, he plays cash, and he's been doing it consistently. That's number two. Number three, I'm going to go with who I think is probably the most skilled next to Ivy, and that's Patrick Antonius. I think his game is on a different level. And that's just in Hold'em. We're talking about Omaha mix. He's been playing it 20-plus years and at the highest level. And if you talk to other pros, they can tell you, like, you can't run over Patrick. He's just that good. And then my last one, it's going to be as far as, like, who started poker, like, who, like, kind of like an old school guy, and that's going to be Doyle Brunson. He's like the godfather of poker. Like, he pretty much, like, started playing when there was only 100 people playing. That's how old he is. But he does everything for the game. He's a great player. If you watch him on high stakes, you watch him play, he navigates through a tournament field, and in the cash game, you can't bully him. And all these top pros, they know, hey, when I'm in a hand with Doyle, like, he can either be trapping, he can bluff me, he can do everything. Those are my top four. And I had Hellmuth at 5, and the reason I had Hellmuth at 5, didn't put him in there, was between him and Negreanu. And I think Negreanu is a bigger poker personality than Hellmuth. So my Mount Rushmore is Phil Ivey, Negreanu. My Mount Rushmore is Phil Ivey, Negreanu, Patrick Antonius, and Doyle Brunson.
Okay.
So
If you haven't noticed, Ice is partial to cash. He You like the cash players.
Well, no, because Doyle Bronson got a bunch of bracelets too.
Yeah.
Negreanu got 6 bracelets,
But
right?
they all play high stakes cash, like regularly.
Well, who do you pick?
Well, over Helmuth, I think that's why you would like, you know, Antonius.
Who's your
and,
tournament goat? I think that's where he's getting at. You left the tournament go out.
No, I have Phil Ivey there. Phil Ivey has, 9 bracelets? And then he wins all these high stakes tournaments
10.
at MyCal and all these tournaments. It's not just a WSOP. He's winning these high stakes tournaments, and he's been winning it. Triton, all these series. Like he's up there. And then you can go tournament. You can go Brian Kenny is better like money wise on the money list and stuff like that. But as far as goats, Phil Ivey can go from super high stakes to tournaments and still dominate. Phil Hellmuth is dominated in tournaments, but he doesn't go to those super high stakes. He plays high stakes.
He doesn't.
Because he does, and he does good.
He doesn't.
But I just don't like a guy that self-proclaims himself as the GOAT. You know, like...
I think one of the main reasons why I left Ivy out is because he took such a long hiatus away from poker.
Well, he didn't because he was playing cash. He took a break from tournament.
away from the limelight.
But to me, you have the opportunity to be crowned the best player ever. And I say opportunity because obviously there's still a lot of opinion out there. And he chose the money over the opportunity, right? And that goes back to what we were saying before. People are putting over some other vested interests over the summer, right? Like, we're talking a 45, 60-day period to commit to poker to win a bracelet. You may live 70 years on this planet, and you can't commit 2 months out of the whole year.
But this is the Mount Rushmore of poker, not
But
the
that's
Mount
what I'm saying.
Rushmore of the WSOP.
Yeah.
But I'm saying why I'm keeping him off my list.
Yeah.
And you can go play Macau and play for millions of dollars, and he's probably made 20 million over the last couple of years. How many people can sit there and document that and say that that's true? I'm not saying it's false, but it's hard for me to put him on. That I'm telling you why I kept him off my list, and that is, it's hard for me from like a legacy standpoint to say he's on my Mount Rushmore if he's not able to prioritize 2 months out of the year, proving himself at the biggest tournaments of the year.
And you know why I put him at number 1 too? I don't know if you saw on a podcast that Negreanu came. You probably saw it since you're a big Negreanu fan. He was having an argument with Hellmuth, right? Hellmuth was, hey, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best. And Negreanu was like, you're not the best. And he's like, who's better than me? He said, Phil Ivey. And Phil Hellmuth said, oh, I'm better than him, then hold him. And then Negreanu said, no, you're not. But if you think you are, he's better than you than every other poker game. And that's Omaha, any other mixed games. Hellmuth agreed that Ivy was better than him. The only one he was debating was No Limit. Mm-hmm. But Negreanu said right off the bat, Ivy's way better than me.
Yep.
So it's just like, it's hard to not put Ivy on top of these guys when these guys are saying, hey, he's better than me.
No, again, I mean, if your peers are telling you one thing and multiple are in agreement, if Hellmuth and Negreanu are saying one thing, it's probably true. I look at the numbers, and I only look at what's available to us, and I see that Ivy has this many bracelets, Hellmuth has this many, and Hellmuth prioritizes the WSOP, which from a legacy standpoint, on a Mount Rushmore, I got to put him up there.
Yeah.
If you're asking me from a skill level, I'm going to say I think Ivy's a better player. But do I think Ivy has done as much as Hellmuth in the last 10 years? Absolutely not.
Yeah. I think, so for me, like I was saying, that I got Ivy there and I got Negreanu honorable mention. I think Ivy kind of represents Negreanu for me because they kind of came up around the same time. They played the same games type. And, Negreanu was just straight up like, yeah, he's better. He's the best there is, There is a section of poker that Negreanu does better than anybody, and that is official ambassador of poker. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's throwing out little contender clothing line and stuff like that. But his main thing was just Poker Stars, GG Poker, come play. He's not Doug Polk. He's not putting out a coaching thing. I mean, he did the masterclass, but he that's not what his game is. His game is let's get as many people to play poker as possible. Yeah, because it's fun. I go to the World Series of Poker every year, and he's there sitting. I mean, I'm saying I'm him, Negreanu. That he goes every year. He's talking to them about rules, regulations, how we can make it better.
He's trying to make the
yeah,
structures better. Yeah.
He's on every live. He's commentating. He has his own podcast, vlog. He has his podcast. He is poker. When he does not do that, there is going to be a big void in poker, and poker will go down because never been anyone like him, or maybe will be in the future, that can fill that void.
My question to you guys: why do you guys have Chris Moneymaker in the Mount Rushmore of poker?
I think it's just what he represents in the boom. Poker doesn't get to where it is now without that. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be Moneymaker. It could have been anyone that won that, won it online, and then
because I get the boom, right? Because on one of the other podcast episodes, I said one of the reasons I got into poker was the Moneymaker effect.
Mm-hmm.
But Black Friday happened, right? And then poker went down.
Yeah.
And this was after he won. So it's just like I felt like the game now, he didn't bring up the game now. He brought up our generation. The new generation, I don't feel he's been consistent to be on a Mount Rushmore.
But we can make the same argument for Doyle, right? Like, the new generation didn't grow up on Doyle, right?
Yeah.
But Doyle meant a lot to the game at his time, so that's the same argument for Moneymaker. We grew up on Moneymaker and the poker boom, and that's really what brought us to the game. So, yeah, the new players might not be drawn because of Moneymaker, but we were, right? And there's people today that still refer to the Moneymaker effect. So,
and I'm a big Moneymaker fan. I'm glad he just won a tournament not that long ago. It's like right before the WSOP. I think he took it down with like 700, 800K. Oh,
Triton, right? Was it Triton?
Was it? Yeah. It was a high roller. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's that's good. I just feel like after he won it, he hasn't done anything since then. So
I mean, he's not not on par skill wise as an Ivy or Helmuth or Doyle.
That's why
it's more of what his effect on poker.
Yeah. And that's why I made sure to lay out like why my guys isn't all based on skill level.
Yeah, for me it was
because
categories.
If it was skill level, Moneymaker's coming out, and probably Doyle's coming out. To be honest with you, I mean. To where they are now, like
there's better cash in tournament.
I probably have Negreanu, Helmuth, Ivy, and then there's a lot of players, right? Like Patrick Antonius, Bryn Kenny. You've got a ton of fantastic players that are playing right now as we speak. That I feel like the Doyles and definitely the Moneymakers I can't compete with.
Yeah. So like, I had Ivy as all around my favorite player. Then I had, for me, the most skill was Patrick Antonius. Him and Ivy right there, but I feel like Antonius is cash, tournaments, and every game. Not just, remember, poker's not just no limit. Poker's Omaha, it's a bunch of other poker games as well, too. Then I had my OG, which was Dory. I could have won Johnny Chang. I could have won Helmuth for OG, because technically, Helmuth were playing before we were probably even born. So
we're going best poker players. I feel like the skill edge is so small, because everybody is so good. You can go with hundreds of players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why it just made more sense to go categorically effects on poker.
So, like, honorable mentions that you guys didn't have on your list or name in your top four. Who just throw them out there. Like,
right. So I had Phil Hellmuth off right at 5, and I had Jason Mercier at 6.
Yeah, I would say I mean Ivy was tough for me. That's what, like I said it. Like it was him or Helmuth. I went with kind of what Helmuth has been more consistent in my opinion.
Yeah.
But Ivy was close. I thought about Antonius. I love Patrick Antonius. You got Bryn Kenny as well. You got Jason Mercier. Yeah, I mean, there's some more. You've got the Fedors, right? Like I feel like when you think of like the Whiz Kids, you got like that was a whole nother movement too. You got Fedor, Tom Dwan,
Bill Galfond, Isildur.
Yep. Oh yeah, old school online Isildur. There's a lot of players. There's a lot of players you can consider.
I'm a big Tom Dwan fan. I just don't put him up there just because. How can I say it? Like he wins big pots, but he loses a lot too. So it's just like. Yeah. He's not the best as far as personality for poker. He's not the biggest winner in poker. He's not the best skill in poker. He just, that Durr effect. He was young, and he was basically, playing with these older guys and was holding his own. So, but Tom Dwan is, honestly, if you look the way he's played, that's not skill poker sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, there's definitely a lot of players. All I'm thinking about is like poker after dark.
Yeah.
And thinking of like that movement. You know, you got your Mike Matasaus, you got your Johnny Chans, you know, you got your Sean Shaws, you got like all these players. So definitely a lot of players that could have been mentioned, and it's all subjective, which is great, right? Like it just all depends on someone's opinion. But moving along, $1 million game, Ice. You know, overall winners and losers. I know this is one of your topics last week. What was your thoughts on the overall 3 or 4 days they played?
So I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't think it was a good idea to put it while the WSOP was going on. Um, but once again, you pay for this subscription for Poker Go, and then they're not streaming the majority of the time. So it's just like you give these $1 million games like chance for people to watch it. So now I'm looking at the stream, 30,000 plus people watching the $1 million game. I didn't like the lineup. I think you needed more star power. There was big pots though. Texas Mike lost $1 million on a hand that he should never been in. Peter won $4 million, so almost $4 million, like 3 point something, close to 4. Tom Dwan was a loser, I think 1 point something million. So it's there was a lot of big pots. Doug Polk was there, but was it for a day and a half? Alan Keaton won 1 point something million. It was good. It's just they need more star power.
I agree. I mean, it was more. I had no intention of watching it, but man, did it keep showing up on my feed.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like that Tom Dwan hand right at the first day. You know that was interesting, and it did make me want to keep watching. Peter just kept just brutalizing Tom on the river with those check raises.
It was on a historical run.
Yeah.
That guy ran Sun Run for sure.
So it's definitely more interesting than I thought it would be. But yeah, my focus is WSOP right now.
Yeah, I didn't really care. I saw a post about the results and I skipped right past it. I think it was a lack of star power. If we were talking the top 5 biggest cash, or the top 9 biggest cash game players in the world, I would have cared to look. You know, nothing against these players. Obviously, they're really good and they're backed well enough where they can play or they got their own bankrolls, but just didn't interest me.
Yeah, where's JRB? I just need some shit talking.
Yeah, well, he's in a WSOP.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
and that was the thing. Like, you sent us the Dwan hand right after our podcast last week, and during our podcast, we saw JRB with a stack in the I think it was in the 5K Champions tournament or whatever. So, you know, that's in my opinion where focus of poker should be. I get that they probably parlayed the number 1 day of WSOP to have this game, but like we said last week, there's $1 million game multiple times a year now. Just didn't really catch my attention. Kudos to those players. I mean, I'm sure it was entertaining for those that cared, but right now I'm in a tournament mindset.
Yeah, 30K viewers. That's impressive.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, they're breaking records from a live stream perspective for sure.
Nick Fatucci and Ryan Fieldman are the 2 guys that own it.
Hey, Ryan, that's right.
It needs to be less politicking and more star power. Like, I'm pretty sure they get these guys in. Like, hey, like a bunch of politics to get these guys in. But like Peter ran hot, but he's not a personality. Like he doesn't talk. He doesn't do anything at the table. He's boring to watch.
Yeah.
There's quite a few people that are boring to watch. So it's just like, they can win a hand, they can play good, but like, it's hard to tune in to watch the whole thing where you could be like, hey, when it's over, just send the highlights, the clips. So
I'd rather watch a 25K with Kevin Hart just because I know he's going to talk.
Yeah. It's just I can appreciate what Hustler's doing for poker, doing $1 million games. They're doing things a lot of people aren't doing, right? $1 million games, the celebrity games, like so. I can appreciate that, but
it's just bad timing.
It's just bad timing, in my opinion. Like I would love to watch that celebrity game that's coming up. I'm probably just not gonna have an interest in it, knowing that I can live stream something on Poker Go.
I can't wait for next year when the Venetian open up their poker room. They're supposed to have like a designated area for streaming. I want to see the games they're gonna stream during the WSOP, because it's gonna happen.
Yeah, and
like 10 p.m., 11 p.m., we're gonna have 1,000, 2,000. See who comes out and play.
The great thing about that too is the fact that the Venetian is doing that. That puts pressure on every other poker room in Vegas to step their game up now. So your Bobby's room, your Aria, and the Win, right? The three other biggest, most popular poker rooms from a cash game perspective in Vegas is now going to have the pressure to say, hey, get up with the times, get a stream room going, be more welcoming and cater to the content creator. And even if those guys aren't content creators, the fact that they can stream those games and monetize their YouTube channels or whatever the case may be is going to definitely is going to push the boundaries, and I think it's just going to be really good for poker.
And let's be realistic. Like Bobby's Room and the Aria, they have these pros like Ivy level, Antonius level, Helmuth level. They have their games. So it's just like, hey, we're playing at the Bellagio. They send a text message out to the group, and they get their 9, 10 guys, to play the game. And then they play one day at the Bellagio, one day at the Aria. Even if it's not streamed, these high stakes games are going on in Vegas. So like, I get it, but you need to pay these guys money if they want to be on the stream, because that's how I feel like you can grow it more and grow your casino more by having these. Even if you have to dish some money, because I'm pretty sure the Bellagio has a deal with Phil Ivey. Like, hey, when you play high stakes, you're playing at the Bellagio. Look, Patrick Antonio's touchdown in Vegas, I think yesterday, and he recorded a video like, hey, I'm going to be playing high stakes mixed games all summer at the Bellagio. Like, he already coming in, the games are at the Bellagio.
Yeah.
So
Berkey's basically sleeping in Bobby's room right now. I think he sat down and said he lost 80K earlier and already reloaded. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's it's going to be interesting because you're right. These rooms have to incentivize their players to come over to there. Now, Bobby's room, obviously, not only is it the lore of Bobby's room, and the fact that they can hold those types of big games, but the poker room itself is run really well too, right? So like, there's that level of love that they have, and also loyalty, right? So these rooms are gonna have to find a way, and it could be in the form of money or something, but to pull them in, and it'll be interesting to see what poker content creation looks like a year from now in Vegas for sure.
Well, that year that Doyle almost ran us over with a scooter, Ivy was in the Bobby's room.
Yeah.
Doyle was playing. They weren't playing in WSOP, and it was WSOP season, but they were playing high stakes at the Bellagio. So it's just like the games are going on. As fans, we want to see a stream. So these casinos and these poker rooms that are streaming games, you have to get the star-studded power. Yeah. Like, it is what it is, but you have to dish out money.
100%. So switching gears up, still staying on the topic of WSOP really quick. From a points perspective, I meant to have the points ready to go. I don't have the points ready to go. But let's just talk about overall feel, right? From where your fantasy team currently is. We'll have an updated fantasy scoring next week. How do you feel about where your team's at? Deep runs from any of your players? Do you wish you drafted someone else?
I know it's early. It's seven bracelets in already. Well, we have 100 bracelets this year.
99.
99. It's early, so not worried about it. Obviously, we want these guys to start off hot, but
it's not feasible.
Yeah, I know Sean Deep is going to be consistent. He's a little struggling now. Ben Yu's always consistent, so those guys. Charis Andrews kind of ran deep in the 5K. She was up there for a little bit, but I think she would hold on for female.
Yeah.
So
I actually have my score ready. So
your score on top of your head?
Yeah, there it is.
There it is. The big old 0. So wait, run through your team real quick.
So Alex Livingston, Josh Aria.
Aria doesn't have points. Yeah. Okay.
Nick Schulman, Ryan DePaulo, Victoria Lifshitz, and there's someone I'm forgetting because it's 6.
I've got the points as of Friday, but
David Baker, David ODB Baker.
So Ice got points from Ben Yu and Sean Deeb.
Yeah, so
something may have changed since
goose
then.
egg so far.
Yeah, your team is just but it's plenty of time.
It's early.
Brad Owen cashed, so I got some points from Brad Owen.
Yeah, we gotta for those that aren't part of because what we're doing is we're using the points from the 25K fantasy. For those that aren't on any 25K fantasy teams but are on ours, we're gonna need to just pull their POY points in general and add them. So we'll just have to manually do that.
I really like my team. Obviously, the number 1 pick was Negreanu, and I feel like that he's going to carry most of the fantasy league points. Mm-hmm. So hopefully Sean Deeb can pretty much keep up with him, and I should be good personally. I like my team.
Yeah, it'll be good. We will skip this for now because I'm not prepared for that. Real quick, off topic. We're gonna go through these next couple topics really quick here. NBA Finals is upon us. Thursday, the final start between the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics. Any predictions? Finals champion, and also MVP of the finals. Who you got?
All right, so it's tough because the Celtics have been the best team all season, and they pretty much have defense, offense. They have the best balanced team. But with Porzingis coming in to the starting lineup now, or if they're going to start him now, they're still debating that. I feel like it's going to take a little bit of chemistry out of the Celtics. And I'm going Dallas in 7. MVP, Luka. He just been shitting on guys, to be honest with you. He's been unreal.
Hector, who you got for the finals?
I had the same thing, but 6. Do it in
Mavs
6.
in 6.
Luka.
And Luka MVP. I wish I had someone different. I wish just for the sake of a conversation.
Yeah.
But I have Mavericks in 6, Luka as MVP. If you told me these two teams were going to meet 2 weeks ago in the finals, I would have had Celtics with Tatum. But Celtics struggled against the Pacers without Halliburton, and they almost lost multiple games without Halliburton. They got bailed out on a couple plays in the fourth quarter in crunch time. Something about the Celtics defense doesn't give me a ton of confidence. Love how Luke is playing right now, and you got Kyrie getting warm. I mean, you got someone that can drop 30, 35 if he really needs to. Obviously, they're well coached too. Mavs in 6.
The key to this series is going to be Luka's going to get his. It's going to be how Kyrie handles the Celtics fans. He hates Boston. Boston hates him. You seen him step on the logo, haze the place like.
Oh my God, the incense.
With the incense stuff, like he hates Boston. They call him a bunch of racial names and stuff like that. It's documented. So if he comes out like Kyrie does and takes that energy and pretty much bust their ass, the Dallas is gonna win. If the pressure gets too much to him, then I can see the Celtics pulling away with it. But you still gotta get back Luka. Luka's a bad man.
Luka's a beast.
Hitting it from the logo.
Yeah, Luka's gonna get his 35 a game, easy, I think. And the thing is, and the knock on Kyrie has never been can Kyrie play. It's just always been his character. Yeah. He hasn't always made it easy on himself. But like you said, Kyrie comes through. They really just need those two options, and they can win. And
it's not really his character. It's his. He didn't put basketball as his number one priority. So
that's his character.
You as a fan, you only look at, hey, they paying you the money, you have to play. Yeah. He looks at it like, hey, like stuff is going on political, I don't want to play, like stuff like that, which I think is wrong, but that's his opinion. But he should have lost his job for not playing. But that's his take. But Kyrie can get buckets, and in the clutch, anybody to take the shot there, I pick Kyrie. Kyrie's clutch. So.
Yeah, between the issues in Boston, some selfish decisions in his career, like leaving LeBron. Who leaves LeBron? The COVID stuff, the stuff with his diet, like not stuff I necessarily disagree with, but he just hasn't always taken a target off his back. Some of it's self-inflicted. So regardless, if it comes down to skill, he's going to be the deciding factor in the series. Jaylen Brown's going to get his. Jason Tatum's going to get his.
Well, we know who Batman and Robin is with Dallas. We know Luka's Batman, Kyrie's Robin. With the Celtics, they debating between Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Yeah. Like, if you ask me in the beginning of the year, it's Jason Tatum's Batman. Jaylen Brown is Robin. Because remember the last couple playoffs, Jaylen Brown sucked. He couldn't dribble with his left. Yep. Now, in the playoffs, he's been dominant. Jason Tatum's been taking a back seat. So I want to see how the finals go.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. He was the Eastern Conference MVP, right? Yeah. Jaylen Brown. Oh, yeah. So I think Tatum's going to get his. I think he'll kind of take the point as far as like being the number one option, but it'll be interesting. That'll be interesting. But we're all in agreement here. The Mavs are going to win. We'll see what that looks like in a couple weeks. Real quick, I wanted to talk about just like content evolution, right? So like we do poker, we do sports. One thing we're gonna kind of start to integrate a little bit more outside of the sports talk is probably some more live content. You've talked before about, hey, let's on the way over here, let's record some live content. One thing we've been picked up more, at least for myself, is golf, ice golfs. I've been doing some more of it. Hector golfs. We'll talk off stream here, but Hector just got some nice clubs this past weekend. So you're gonna see some more golf coming through. I wanted to shout out two creators, golf wise, that we've been conversating back and forth with that we can expect future content with. The first is BD Scott. He's from Brunswick, Georgia. Dude's been playing since he was 8 years old. An absolute tank. He has videos on his YouTube. Make sure you go check him out. Hits absolute bombs. He's a long driver is a specialty, but he can obviously play golf very, very well. And then Coach Mark Galantis, he's local. We're going to hopefully get him on stream soon. He coaches over at Tee It Up, which is right down the road from me. And, looking to do some content. He's big in the content game, TikTok and YouTube as well, and Instagram. So definitely check him out. Definitely excited for that. And like I said, we're going to do some live content here shortly with some golf stuff. So excited for that. And the last thing is what I texted you last night, the Masters lottery.
Oh, yeah.
So because we don't have an amazingly huge following, I'll just say here, because obviously it's not going to hurt our chances too much. But the Masters lottery did open up a couple days ago. The way it works is basically, you do have to pay for the days you can go. You can go one day if selected. But, having the opportunity to go to the Super Bowl of golf in Augusta, which isn't a terribly long drive for us, would be really cool. The fact that we're all kind of getting into golf a little bit more will certainly interest me. So,
Yes.
Would be cool if we were able to get 4 tickets to go to an event, even if it's for a practice round, and do some snap call videos on the way up there and on the way back. So, interested and happy for that. So,
Awesome.
yeah, we do have a couple things to do. We have a T-shirt giveaway that we're going to be announcing tomorrow, or today, but we'll probably post it tomorrow. And then, of course, as mentioned, our shirt drop, our website launch has already been gone up. We haven't really made a post about that yet, so unless you've seen it on the podcast, people may not know about it. So, post incoming for that. Other than that, anything else you guys want to say before we wrap up? Anything for second week of WSOP you want to add?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. No, not really. I mean, the Mystery Millions. I'm curious to see how that unfolds. Dan Negreanu's vlog has always been entertaining this year. I think there was one episode I kind of fast forwarded a little bit. A little bit too much home life for me. I'm like, let's get to the poker. But he even addressed it in the video.
You don't like Amanda and the dogs?
Yeah, I do, but to an extent. You know what I mean? So, we're watching one video a day, that's fine. But if it's like, hey, I got to catch up on 2, all right.
It's tough. Once you
Fall too much.
fall back a little bit, it's a little tough.
Excited for this Mystery Millions. These guys pooling bounties and stuff like that. You have 1 more million to be pooled. I think 500. And like last year on Twitter, everybody was like, "Oh, this guy pooled 60." Remember this local Joey Sal pooled like 30K or 40K or something like that.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. And then also these other tournaments, the Golden Nugget has a series coming up, and then usually the week 2, like week 1 is like a lot of I don't want to say low stakes, but a lot of guys would do that kickoff event and stuff like that. But then after week 1 and week 2 starts the real grind, and you're gonna see the pros separate themselves from the field.
Yeah.
And hopefully my fantasy team can run deep.
Yeah, I want to get some points.
Yeah.
Just one. 1 point.
I think that the main thing I'm interested in seeing is kind of Negreanu's demeanor and his play style this next week. Ran really deep. I think it's natural for anyone to kind of still be on tilt, knowing you were that close. I'd be interested to see if he brings that hand up multiple times, because it's going to be in your head, right? You're that close to an event. There's no way he expected to run that deep. He obviously has all the confidence in the world, but there's no way he expected to run that deep. So it'll be interesting to see if that decision with the ace-king affects him in any way, and to see how he plays moving forward. He's a pretty straightforward person, so I don't imagine it affecting him too much, but I'm interested to see how that affects his gameplay moving forward. Obviously, fantasy team is going to just end up winning, so it doesn't really matter if your guys get points or not. I mean, my team's going to take it down anyway. But other than that, I think we're good. Next week, Ice will not be here, right?
I'll be virtual.
Ice will be virtual. So me and Hector will be holding on the ship with Ice virtual. We'll be wrapping up the full second week of WSOP and everything poker related wise. Other than that, guys, peace out. We'll see you guys next week.
See ya. Subscribe.
Yeah, you know, I'm feeling myself right now. It's a new year. We about to do this. Let's go. I feel like the king of my city. Tony Montana.